So this is an introduction to the Braillenote Touch Plus. It would be very similar if you had a Braillenote Touch. There will be one main difference, as I will discuss at the end. Looking at the Touch from the back, there are three main sockets as you look at it from the back. The main one that you'll probably need to be using is the VDU socket. That is so that you can attach a VDU or a screen to the Touch to see what the student is working on. Then you might use the SD card, hopefully very rarely, and you might use the USB in case you are giving them any resources through that method. The best method to use is electronically, as in via email, but if there are problems with using email, then you would use the USB. The SD card should only really be taken out if you are creating a backup of that Touch. So then looking at it from the front, on the far left and the far right, you've got the thumb keys. They tab you backwards or forwards, depending on which way you're going. They are the thumb keys. Then you have the left button and the right button. They move you backwards or forwards through the Braille display. And I'm not sure that you would use these as much. The students would use them, but you wouldn't use them as much. Then you have the triangle button, and that sends you back, as in once you've say you've entered an application, say keyword, and you think, oh no, I didn't want to be in here, you'd press the triangle button to go back. It's like the back button on a web browser. The round button, from wherever you are, it takes you back through to the main menu. So it'll just kick you back to the main menu, and you could start whatever you were thinking of doing again, or you can then start your next process. So the round button is quite handy from that point of view. The square button has two different uses, and this is where it's a bit different on the Touch and Touch Plus. The square button, if you have a long hold on the Touch Plus, would give you the context menu. So that, say you're in the keyword and you press it for a bit of a hold, then you would get the file functions, edit functions, and format functions, things like that. If you do a short hold, it's like on your iPad, and you see the various apps that you've got open up so that you can switch quite easily. This is a good way of switching between email and keyword, for example, or key math and keyword, things like that. So the short hold gives you the windows, the different windows, and the long hold gives you the context menu. That is for the Touch Plus. I'll go through the difference with the Touch later. So from the front of the Touch point of view, I think the main buttons you would use would be either the right outer thumb key or the left outer thumb key, one of them, and then probably the context menu, but that might be something that you would suggest to the students, and the main menu round button. I think those are the main three keys that you would need to use. On the right hand side, the only one that you'll actually need to know is the headphone, in case any student wants to use their headphones. You or they will need to know which one it is, so it's the second one towards them as they start at the back. So then I thought I'd put in a little bit of a what's what from the Touch point of view, from what a student's using. You've got the Braille cells, as you know, 1 to 6. You've got the space bar, enter, and backspace. I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. Quite often I refer to enter or a router key. And so when you're selecting things, that's what you would use. You can either press the enter button, but if you happen to be using it, trying to use it like an iPad, so you flipped the lid, you don't have the keypad in front of you, instead of having to put it down to press the enter button, you can use a cursor routing key, and that is what's in the picture at the bottom. So the cursor routing keys are the black dots at the top, and it wouldn't matter which one you pressed, you could press any of them, and that acts like an enter. In that picture at the bottom, I've just done a bit of a description of what some of the dots look like, how they would be represented. So you've got dot 6 as an example, dot 1, 2 and 4 as an example, just as an example. You've also got a space, so you can see what a space in print, how it comes across on the Braille display. And I've also highlighted where the cursor would be if it was on that letter. So the two bottom dots, they are there blinking usually. That's how the students usually have them set up, as the where the cursor is. So that's where you can tell where the students move their cursor. If they don't move the cursor, then you can't tell where they are reading. So equally, it doesn't show on the Braille display. So if they've read ahead to further on to where the actual cursor is, you sometimes need to ask them to place the cursor using one of those black dots at the top, and that will shift what you can see on the Braille display on the VDU to actually see what they are reading. And I think that's it. So on this one, I've highlighted the differences between the Touch and the Touch Plus. I haven't gone into detail about the context menu because it's a little bit more complicated. On a Touch, it's the reverse. I think mainly you need to remember that the context menu is through that square button, and if it doesn't work, then you know that they need to do a long press or a short press. And the other main thing is that to use it like an iPad, on a Touch Plus you use the volume buttons, as I've discussed in another tutorial thing. On a Touch, it's the triple press of the round key, and a triple press is 1, 2, 3, as fast as that, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to do it good 2 or 3 times for it to recognise that you want the key soft to be turned off. It's a little bit more stable on the Touch Plus when you're using the volume keys. And that is a bit of a snapshot of what is where.